from the back of Ruth the Realtor's car, it's the Stacking Deeds Show. I'm Ruth's neighbor and part-time mechanic, Doug, broadcasting live from the spacious, luxurious trunk recording studio. In today's episode, we're answering your questions about a specific real estate deal. Ever wonder how we'd critique a potential investment? Join Joe and Crystal as they take you on a journey through the process, all thanks to a fantastic question from one of our dedicated listeners. In our headlines, we talk about the pros and cons of being billions of dollars in debt. You know, like Robert Kyosaki. Plus, we'll answer a call to Ruth's Rotary phone from Pam-a-lama-ding-dong about standing out in a bidding war. And of course, I'd never leave you hanging. I'll pop in later with my property pop quiz. And now, the dynamic duo of deal analysis, it's Crystal Hammond and Joe Saul-Sehy.
Well, hello. Who's Batman and who's Robin if we're the dynamic duo?
Well, you're definitely Batman.
Wonderful. I'll take that.
I can totally see you. I'm Batman.
I am. And yeah, the hidden hero, the everyday plainclothes hidden hero. Well, welcome everybody to this episode of the Stacking Deeds podcast. We're glad you're here.
Sit back, relax, because we're about to take you on a 1-hour real estate journey into Crystal, something really fun. Our listener, Diane, kind of challenged us today.
She wants us to do her deal analysis,
AKA her dirty work.
Exactly. If you remember, if you've been listening along, you know that we had a couple people talk about how their deal analysis goes. We had Sonny and we have, of course, Alan Corey. He had 50% envelope math. We're going to walk you through the two methods, the differences, the pros and the cons, and the things that we look for too when we're looking at deals.
And we'll do it all while bumping down a dirt road, it looks like, Crystal, at about 35 miles an hour. Where the hell is she taking us?
I don't know, because I thought Chicago was the pothole capital of the world. So maybe is that where we're headed to?
No. Yes. I know what a farm girl you are, Crystal, so you're very comfortable.
No. Out here. But I do have good news. We finally got a letter from the alderman. So that only took, August, September, October, November, December, January, 6 months. So this is just to let you guys know, when you're doing a project, always account for the unknowns, because back in May, we had a letter from the previous alderman, but then there was a new election. And so that alderman retired, so we had to start all over with getting rezoning. And so the first meeting, we thought it went great. We're like, yay, we're going to get a letter. And then 6 months later, we're like, where's the letter? Where's the letter? Giving polite nudges like, hi, remember us? We even had another meeting in October. You always have to just pack your patience.
For people that are new deeders and are going, what the hell is she talking about? Tell everybody about your project.
Sorry about that. I'm from the south side of Chicago and I'm building some fourplexes. This will be new construction. The property that I have came from a city program, the Chicago Large Lots program, where if you own property, which I already own a duplex in Chicago, if there's city-owned vacant lots on the same block, you can buy them for $1. So for years, since 2015, I've known about the program and I've been slowly buying lots. I have 5 now, and I'm finally at a point where I've been networking with the right people and telling everybody that I have goals, I have properties, and I want to build something. So finally, I've vetted the people. I have a great team working with me. And so now we don't have shovels in the ground yet, but this has been a very hurry up and wait kind of process. But it's very exciting.
That is super exciting. You know, I bet, Crystal, your goal is to be like Robert Kyosaki.
Oh, right. According to our headline. Shall we get into it? Because this has been stirring a lot of controversy on the interwebs.
Let's do it. Let's pivot to that right now. Our headline today comes to us from Fortune.com, Fortune magazine, and is written by Oriano Rose Royal. Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kyosaki reveals he's $1 billion in debt, but saying going bust, quote, wouldn't be his problem. if he goes bust, it's the bank's problem. Do you want to talk first about Robert Kiyosaki, dirt on Robert Kiyosaki, or do you want to talk about this idea of him being $1 billion in debt?
Well, I really liked him. Like back in the day, obviously everybody has read, or most people read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was a game-changing book for me. I was like, oh yeah, I want to be like the rich. And played Cash Flow too growing up. And he just says things that are cringe, but
Yeah.
ugh.
I got to tell you, Crystal, several years ago, I had the opportunity to interview his co-author. A lot of people don't know Rich Dad, Poor Dad has two authors. And if you go back and look at the title, you'll see it says Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. And I got to interview CPA Sharon Lechter, who was a delightful woman. I got two distinct feelings from Sharon Lechter.
Wow.
Distinct feeling number one was there was some sort of non-disclosure agreement between her and Robert Kiyosaki that she couldn't say a bunch of stuff. And I say point one because point two was I also got the very, very strong feeling, not very well hidden, that Sharon Lechter thought Robert Kiyosaki was a dirtbag. Like she did. She was having a lot of trouble holding back and sticking to the NDA.
Yikes.
She was giving me every hint that she didn't like that guy. And to your point, Crystal, lately, he just continually, he's the voice of silly doom and gloom, sell all your stuff, bury your money in the backyard, unless it's real estate or crypto.
Gold. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what the agenda is. I don't know what his deal is, but he's not playing the rich dad part like he used to. I don't know.
Not at all. Right. And that's what I was saying. Like he's just been cringe. Maybe you know how it is. It's like, let me say something that'll hopefully go viral and then bring attention back to me. It seems like it's just more attention grabbing thing, which I hope is just for attention. Because, yeah, he's rubbing people the wrong way. But I like what he says about becoming the billionaire. The bad part is it's the bank's fault if I fail. I mean, come on, dude. But when you're in real estate, it goes back to one of those prime questions. If you had $1 million, what would you do? Or if you had $100,000, what would you do? And you wouldn't buy, or you could buy one. If you had $100,000, you could buy a 10% down on like $1 million property. Or you can buy 10 properties. You can use that money to leverage. And that way, when you have that 100,000, you buy 10% downs on, or even 20% down on 5 properties.
Right.
That increases your debt, but that's also increasing your net worth, your cash flow. So that's what I like about, yes, I want to be $1 billion in debt, but I will have so much real estate, under my belt. And there's another big distinction. You're going into debt to buy income producing assets. This is not debt to buy a vacation. This is not debt to buy McDonald's. This is not debt, to impress your friends, to buy jewelry. This is to buy an income producing asset. So the debt to buy income producing assets, that's a yes for me. Me, Crystal Louise, that's yes for me.
Is your middle name Louise?
Yes.
That's a great middle name, Louise. I love that.
Thank you.
And that truly is what he's talking about here, Crystal. And of course, he says it in the most incendiary way because that's who he is.
Right.
But when he says he's $1 billion in debt, what he's truly talking about is he has over $1 billion worth of real estate that he has leveraged. And the reason it's the bank's problem, and he infers this, he doesn't out and out say it, but he certainly infers it. And I think he's just poking people. But what he means is the bank evaluated his decision to buy this property wrong. So it would be the bank's problem because they had done a poor job of looking at their customer's ability to evaluate the deal and make sure that the asset base underneath this leverage were, that's
solid.
What he's saying. But when it comes to leverage,
but the bank, they do their due diligence also. And that's another thing that some people don't realize or don't look at it, because it's like, okay, if you're not getting approved, a lot of times they say in real estate, especially commercial real estate, they're more evaluating the deal more than they're evaluating you. Yes, you have to be you, good solid footing, credit. Yes, that's the easy part. The hard part is when the bank actually has to evaluate the deal. They actually look at, okay, if this is a new construction, they're going to do due diligence on those contractors too. Like they're going to do due diligence on not just you, but everybody, because it's a big deal. It's a big transaction. It's a lot of money, and they don't want to fail. And they don't want people like Robert saying, well, they shouldn't have given me the money.
You're bad, not mine. Let's talk about this, because when it comes to leverage can build a $1 billion empire. And as long as people will loan you the money, it can continue. However, if things go bad and that asset base for some reason crumbles, we've done a lot of reporting lately on the office space around the country, around downtowns we talked about just recently. There's problem areas in the real estate market in different pockets. And if you are in those pockets, Crystal, and you are leveraged, you could be in a world of hurt very, very quickly.
Yeah, that leverage, that fulcrum can fail. And we talk about that a lot. A lot of the skyscrapers, the skyscraper market is in a shambles right now. There's not demand for it. So there are a lot of factors that you're looking at before you're just jumping into something. You're looking at neighborhood, you're looking at market, you're looking at trends. And sometimes you don't want to catch a falling knife is what the phrase they always say. Because don't be so quick to jump on the trends. That is a fact.
I often like thinking about against the trend. Like if the trend is going this way. Now, real estate works a little slower than the stock market does, which I'm better at and have more experience in. But I think obviously being an equity market, it's the same. When is this going to turn around? And you look at, if you got in at the time when everybody else was getting out and it turned around, wonderful, fantastic opportunity. But if you're using leverage, it makes it super dangerous, which is why I think you need to do a great job of valuing your property at a time, which is exactly, Crystal, what we're going to do next. Coming up next, Crystal and I are going to dive into Diane's question. She's got a specific property in a specific city. We're going to walk you through all the steps that our guests have shared on the show about how to evaluate this, along with our own steps. That's coming up next. But Doug, Crystal, knock on it. He's been strangely quiet today.
He is. He's been very quiet. Doug,
yes.
Are you okay back there?
Yeah, Doug, we need your pop quiz. Time for the pop quiz.
Hey there, Deeters. I'm Ruth's wrench-wielding repair guru, neighbor Doug. Need to build a great team around you to be successful in real estate? Let's talk about the single greatest team in the history of television. Of course, I'm talking about the A-Team, which first aired on this date in 1983. The show became a huge hit despite the fact that it featured cartoon-like violence where nobody got hurt, and the team's ability to make vehicles and weapons out of stuff they'd find in Grandma's kitchen. It also had some awesome catchphrases like, "I love it when a plan comes together," or "Hannibal's on the jazz," and "I pity the fool who don't eat cereal." It also launched the career of that guy, Mr. T. Born Lawrence Tureau, he started playing football in college before being expelled, worked as an MP in the military, and even tried out for the Green Bay Packers before a knee injury prevented him from making the team. Wow, our backstories have so much in common. Today's trivia question is, what was the name of the character Mr. T played on the A-Team? I'll be back just as soon as I figure out why a lug nut is called a lug nut.
Hey, Deeters. I'm real estate maximalist Alan Corey, taking over Ruth's car speakers with today's real estate tip of the day. It's always best to invest with options. Let me explain. Let's say you want to invest in short-term rentals or STRs and you run the numbers and it looks amazing on paper. To really reduce your risk on that investment, though, you should prepare for a future where maybe the laws change and you can't do an STR in that town anymore. So always run your backup numbers on STR purchases as if they may be LTRs or long-term rentals one day. That way you know if something happens outside your control, like laws changing, you can pivot your investment and your asset and still be cash flow positive because you already know that property is still lucrative as a long-term rental if that day comes in the future. And that's today's House Money Media real estate tip of the day. If you're craving more real estate education, Then head over to housemoneymedia.com to check out my real estate coaching and courses. Use coupon code DEEDS for 10% off all of our products so you can learn everything you need to know about long-term and short-term rentals, whether you're investing locally or out of state. That is DEEDS, DEEDS, for 10% off for all Stacking Deed listeners only at housemoneymedia.com.
Hey there, Deeters. I'm gold collector and former Mohawk model, Ruth's mechanic, neighbor Doug. Back in the 80s, there were few bigger pop icons than Mr. T. I pitied a fool who even tried to be a big star. Lawrence Tureau had a rough start to life as the youngest of 12 children living in a 3-room apartment, but he pressed on regardless, and after stints in football and the military, he eventually became a bouncer at the Dingbats Discotheque in Chicago, where he created his Mr. T persona. When patrons lost their gold chains dancing inside, I mean, come on, it was the 70s. He would collect them and wear them around his neck outside the club as he monitored the line to get in. Anyone with enough guts to ask for their chain back could have it. Oddly, few people did that, and his chain collection grew to obnoxious levels, helping him to create his character. But today's question wasn't about the weight of Mr. T's jewelry collection. Instead, we asked you what his character name was on the hit 80s show, The A-Team. The answer? It was none other than B.A. Baracus. They claimed the B.A. stood for bad attitude, but we all knew it really meant for badass. Too bad you couldn't say that on TV back then, but on podcasting, shit, we can say anything. And now, let's get back to Joe and Crystal as they help us learn how to evaluate a residential real estate opportunity.
Crystal Louise. I think I'm going to call you that. I called you the Hammond earlier while we were prepping. We've got Dieter. Diane has a question for us.
All right. Well, first of all, it's Denise. It's from Denise Herrera. So remember,
nice job, Doug.
This is why you need a team.
Yeah, Doug in the open.
Your checks and balances. So good thing I'm here to be the checker and the balancer. Yes. So we have a question from Denise. All right. She says, hi. I'm wondering if you can use this listing to run an analysis on this property as an investment property. And there's a Redfin link that obviously I'll put in the show notes. She says the rent cast estimate is $1,300. The numbers don't include the property management fee, but she's missing anything else. So let's pull up this listing. I'll get you guys the deets. All right. So this place is in Detroit. All right. It's so cold in the D. That's a funny song.
The address, we can give people the address if you want to follow along with us.
Yeah.
It's 15909 Turner Street, Detroit, Michigan, 48238, listed on Redfin at $103,000 as we record this. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,338 square feet. I won't read the listing about all the, well, you know what? I will read it. Discover your dream home at 15909 Turner, a 3-bed, 1-bath gem that's perfect blend of style and comfort. Step into luxury. This is totally ChatGPT. This reads like ChatGPT. Right. Step into luxury with marble tiled flooring in the bathroom, perfectly complemented by royal blue ceramic tile on the bathtub walls. The updated kitchen features beautiful marble tiling, making it a culinary haven. Yes.
Goodness.
I'm sure that Gordon Ramsay's going to move into this place.
Oh, yeah.
Relax and entertain on the newly built wood back porch, a serene retreat for all seasons. Original hardwood flooring flows throughout, adding timeless character. Enjoy abundant natural light with brand new windows illuminating every room. It's been on Redfin for 47 days. It's single family, built in 1926. The generous lot, 4,356 square feet. So you've got a nice yard with it. $77 per square foot. A 3% buyer's agent fee is attached. Now, if we go to the map here, which is important, the first thing that I'm going to look at, Crystal, is the map. And the reason is I'm familiar with Detroit. Now, if you're familiar with the city that you're looking in, you could do this very quickly, like I'm going to do. This wouldn't normally be my first step, but because I'm familiar with the city, I want to see exactly where it is. And there's something else I'm looking for. Is this a corner lot? And the reason is that the number of people that want to buy a house on the corner goes down substantially. So when I go back to when Suni was with us and we were talking about making a deal where she could turn around and sell it right away, right? If I decide I don't want this and I want to sell it anytime and I want to sell it quickly, a corner lot's going to be a little harder to sell. The good news is this is not a corner lot. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. Second thing I look for is, okay, what part of Detroit is this in? Because Detroit has had a wonderful comeback as a city, which a lot of our deeders know. And my son owns a bunch of houses in Detroit for that reason, wants to be part of the fantastic rebuilding. And as I open this up, you are just a block and a half from a major freeway called the Lodge. You are just south of Mary Grove College and the University of Detroit Mercy. You're also right next to an area called Palmer Park. And Palmer Park is this area where real estate values have just gone a lot higher because of the fact that the Detroit Golf Club is there where the pros come to play golf every year now. There's some beautiful old mansions which have now been restored. So I know that not that far from this, a lot of this Renaissance, like the centerpiece of the Renaissance, is close to us. And I also know that being fairly close to a freeway, close to a college, close to University of Detroit Mercy, Crystal, there's a lot going on there with this property. A lot of good stuff.
There are, but then I would definitely want to see it in person because there's also Church's Chicken. There's also a liquor store on the corner. So those are things I would want to look and see.
Do you not like Church's Chicken?
No.
No. She's going to go
Some
negative.
people love Church's Chicken. You know, this is funny. I actually like the grocery store chicken. Like they make some
The
good
like
chicken.
rotisserie chicken?
Yeah, they have some good chicken at the grocery stores.
But what's there but seriously, is there a reason why the liquor store or the...
Not really.
Is it
but
traffic you're looking at?
That too. Traffic, foot traffic. What's the neighborhood like at night? Because I do see that there's a boxing gym. I like those. Those pop up in fun neighborhoods too. So I want to get a feel for the neighborhood and I want to get a feel for, what kind of tenants I'm going to have also.
Now, once again, usually we'd start with just the numbers. We do the math because you can very quickly make a yes, no, and then get into all the stuff that we're at. But because I'm familiar with Detroit and I'm on the listing anyway, and the map's right there, I'm just taking a couple seconds. And what we just described in the last 5 minutes would literally take me 2 minutes. But while I'm there, I would go to a site then called crimegrade.org, which evaluates really what type of neighborhood this is. And you can believe that a lot of Detroit is going to not score that well on, what's it called? Crime Grade.
Yeah, crimegrade.org. Another site too is spotcrime.com, SPOT, and it'll actually show you. It's cute. Well, crime is not cute, but they put a little icon of what crime was committed on what street. So you can hover and it'll say, like a break-in. It's like a shattered glass kind of thing. Or we had Clue Deluxe. I loved playing Clue. So some you see like this little detective, so they have icons showing you what crime has happened where. So if there had been previous break-ins at that place, that should show you and pop up. So these are other things just to look at, even if you don't know the neighborhood or if you do.
Yeah, so let's go into this one. Crime Grade gives us a pretty low grade, Crystal.
Oh. Well, you can use it as a negotiation tool also. So, turns out on the crimegrade.org, this got a score of a D. But this can give you two things. This can give you, okay, is this an automatic no? You can have that on your checklist because sometimes you may need to go to the property for a reason. Sometimes it may be late. Sometimes it may be early. So this is something that you have to make that decision for yourself. Like, hey, I don't invest in properties that have a D. Or if you see a property with a D and that is in your comfort zone, because we've talked to Al Hines, he loves being a property manager. He loves going to properties and talking to us. So this would be in his comfort zone. And he may see a D as, hey, this is in a D, so maybe I'll use this as more of a negotiation tool also.
Well, on the other side, if it's a D, maybe he doesn't want to go into that neighborhood. I mean, I
That too.
remember when I was working with Channel 7 in Detroit, a
Oh,
reporter, we went to somebody's house and the camera person called me and said, make sure you park directly behind the truck because nobody in this neighborhood will mess with a TV truck, but they will mess with anything else. And I'm like,
wow.
where the hell are you taking me? And we went into this one neighborhood. There were bars on all the windows and the sounds of some pretty mean dogs in yards around. That was a wild story. But, so maybe that's a positive. To your point, maybe it's a negative, but it certainly applies. Here's what I don't like about crime grade. And it is the fact that this is by zip code. And my son owns property not that far from this house. And he knows this on a street by street level, Crystal. And in a city like Detroit right now, where there is such a change going on with neighborhoods in the city, it often is street by street. So the zip code thing, it's a nice place to start. I don't know that that would be the end all be all. Being close to a freeway also can be a negative and a positive. To your point about going there, the street noise, how loud is it because of the freeway? On a positive, for a professional, they may want to get right on the highway and get to work. Like if it's not overly loud and I'm a block and a half from the freeway, I'm on the freeway and I'm right at work. That's a great thing.
That could be it. And it's funny. Well, not funny, but look, I just Googled my neighborhood in Chicago and it gives it an F. But that's my comfort zone. That's where I'm investing. I was born and raised. I know the neighborhood. The neighborhood knows me. So like I said, you can totally take it with a grain of salt.
Would you agree, Crystal, in that area too, just like we're talking about, it's a street by street thing? Are there streets where you're like, yeah, just don't go down there?
Yeah, well, it's street by street, but it's also neighborhood. It's by zip code. So 60617 is a very big zip code.
Yeah, that's my point. That's exactly my point.
Yep. So you really can't grade the entire, your area, that block, just on the total. So yeah, it gives it an F, but hey, this is where I'm from. So this is also another reason why, you use these tools, but it's a thing if you're familiar or not. I'm familiar, so I laugh at the F that it gives me. If it's a neighborhood that you're not familiar with, then maybe you need to do some more research. So that's all. It's just a guide.
Let's do the back of the envelope on this. If the house is $103,000 and we do a down payment of 20%, we're not going to use special financing, which could be an option. We're not going to use any of the programs out there. We're just going to use our very traditional financing on the house. And we are going to do property taxes. They calculate them on Redfin for us. We can actually raise that number. I would, for now, because we're just doing back of the envelope math, we can just leave them the same. The one thing I am going to change is the interest rate because this is not owner occupied. I won't get the 7.23, which they are giving us as the average interest rate for a 30-year fixed loan in that area right now. For us, I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go 8.5%.
8.5%. Which we don't know. So your mortgage lender would be the one person to tell you what your interest rate is going to be.
So we put that down, and that gives us, Crystal, $770 per month.
$770.
The first thing we need to look at is, now that we have the $770 payment, how much do I think I can rent that for? And if we go to the site that Denise showed us in her note,
and our question, it comes up to $1,300 per month.
And Crystal, let's just go to the place where Denise went. That's called
Rentcast. So according to Rentcast, you can rent this out for $1,300 a month.
All right. So we take $1,300, and to be very conservative, we are going to pretend that it is not rented 1 month of the 12. So I'm getting $1,300. I'm getting 11/12 of that.
11/12. And then on Allen's, his vacancy rate, he uses 5%. So going through Allen's 50% envelope math, if all the expenses are 50% or less, then it's a yes. So 50% of that $1,300 will give us $650. So if we can keep this under 600, well, that plus the mortgage payment, if that's under the rental income, then it's a yes. So that would give us, let's see, vacancy 5%, that's $65.
And to get back to the number, so 11/12 is $1,191, which we can call $1,200 for using back of the envelope, but we'll keep it at $1,191. So $770 is our mortgage payment. And then now of that $1,191, Allen uses 25%.
Yeah, he uses 15% for repairs and then 10% for capital expenditures. And now this is something that you want to raise or lower depending on the age or the state of the house. Because if you're buying brand new construction, you can possibly go with the lower rate. Like even SUNY has 8% and 8% for both instead of 15 and 10. So you will take this and decide what's a great number based on the property condition.
I like Allen's number of $298 because of the fact that it is so conservative.
Yes.
In fact, SUNY said she was conservative. These are very conservative numbers, but especially if I don't know the city and I don't know the street, I want to make sure that I've got some pretty locked down numbers.
Yep.
That I'm playing with. The last thing here is then property management.
Well, and we also want to have property taxes and insurance.
No, we have that.
Again, well, we have it in the monthly payment. Well, yeah, I guess we don't need it again.
Yeah, no, we got it.
All right. Property management. So, yep. Property management, that's another 10% at least. So we'll put,
200.
unless you can negotiate 120.
120.
Right?
And 120 is low because of the fact that that property management is 10% of the actual, which would be 1,300. So it's actually 130.
Right. Let's see. So we got vacancy, we got repairs, we got capital expenditures, we got property management. There's no HOA or anything like that
no.
here. And then our payment is $770. So that's bringing us to...
Here we go. I'm just finishing it. $1,200.
So it's the same number.
Well, and here's what's interesting. This is the interesting part. And this then makes you do a couple things. Number one is look at that property management number. If you're going to manage the property yourself, there's going to be cost and time affiliated with that, but you can lower that by the property management number of $130. That puts it inside of Allen's. I'm going to have free cash flow of over a couple $100. Allen's looking for 200 in his calculation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wants to do back of the envelope wise. It also gives me some negotiating points because I also know that if I can bring that mortgage down from $770 to a number closer to $700, now I've got it. The good news about this property is that this property has been on the market for a little while. It's already been reduced. And in fact, when you look at it, another good thing for us is that now I go through the pictures and Crystal, this house is beautiful, which means my capital expenditure number is going to be lower because that work's already been, looks like it's been largely done.
Appears, right? Definitely. The inspection will tell you otherwise.
Yeah. It also looks like because everything looks new inside and there's no furniture. This is a flipper who is doing it. And sure enough, when you go into the history, they bought this house for just over $40,000 and now they're trying to sell it for $100,000. So you're buying a house that's already fixed up. So our capital expenditure number, I'm going to keep it, but I also know that my capital expenditures out the door initially is going to be a little lower, probably, hopefully, again, because of the inspection, less than what we think. But if I go into this.
Yeah, I'm looking at the dates too. When did they buy it for $40,000? Another thing to look at too, when you're looking at the property history down on the bottom. So in June of 2023, they bought it for $43,000. You know what else you can do? because let's see, so by December, so yeah, about 6 months later, they listed it for 120,000. But so now it's at 103, right? Go ahead and look up this address and see if they pulled any permits. If they didn't pull any permits, then that means that they probably didn't do the best job on renovating, or they probably cut some corners or things like that. You want to make sure the city got in there and also inspected any work and approved any work that they did. So also look at those dates to make sure that there's things that happened that weren't suspiciously fast. And they talked about the brand new porch. Make sure they pulled permits for that porch, because Chicago had a big thing with porches falling. So you don't want to inherit that mistake that someone else made. So also that's another great, huge tip of what to look for when you're deciding the condition of the property and if they cut corners, the previous construction person.
All of what you just said, Crystal, is beyond the scope of the back of the envelope. At this point in the analysis, you know that we're on the fence, right? You already know that we are definitely on the fence, and now we're making tough decisions. So all the things that you just said, Crystal, are all now we're saying, I really do want this property. I want to see if I can make it work. So as you're flipping through hundreds of properties, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, in your gut. And frankly, I wouldn't even base it on just this one, Crystal. I would look at 5 other houses and see if another one is a more clear-cut winner, because this one so far is right in the gray area, which, by the way, means that the real estate team that priced this has priced it based on all the information that we have. They must have. I mean, this pricing
definitely
looks like they're trying to suck every nickel out of it, but make you think that, hey, if I buy this, it could be good for me.
Yeah.
By the way, looking at the house, I can make that monthly payment go down by $100 if I get the price down to $90,000. That's going to be a stretch.
Okay.
But taking somebody that's already dropped the price, another 10% on top of where they're at now means I got to come in at 85.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 85 offend them.
It could. But Joe, you also brought up a very good point. And almost every person we've interviewed talked about this also. It's a numbers game. A lot of the people they look at hundreds of properties a lot of times before they make their final decision. So this is the envelope math. This is when you're making that quick yes or no decision. So this is giving you a quick yes or no because you're looking at so many properties. So if this one is giving you the yes, then you do the deeper dive. Then you roll up your sleeves and then you really get in there to do the focus, the deep dive. But for the envelope, since you're going to be looking at so many properties.
If I get rid of the property management, it becomes a definite more of a maybe. If I get a discount on the property, then it also becomes more of a maybe.
Right.
And if I find an interest rate less than 8.5%, it also becomes a better deal, which also makes me think if I'm in an interest rate environment where interest rates now are set to go down, my opportunity, Crystal, to refinance could also bring me off the fence from this property. The fence to off the fence, maybe 6 months from now, I refinance the house and capture a little more. The problem here is going to also be then resale value, because if I'm buying it and it is brand new, updated, frankly, I look at this property, I don't know that there's a lot of capital expenditure I need to put into the property right now. Can I turn it around in 6 months and resell this property and make any money? I think that could be a downside too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm going to buy it for fair value. We're looking at this based on cash flow. Now, if I do say 85 and they tell me 90, and then I use some of that CapEx money to do, now I see there's no landscaping here. Like I look at the front of the house, there's no landscaping. I could easily also take pictures of this house staged and make it look a lot better. Like a lot better with some staging inside of it. I could probably use those things to maybe eke out a few $1,000. So could I make this work? Yeah. But Crystal, now we know all the questions. I want to go see the property. I want to evaluate this D rating because like you said, on the south side of Chicago in Detroit, you want to take this street by street. Is this street a street where I want to live, or is it one where you need to park right next to the TV van? What's the traffic like? What's that noise like from the highway?
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to really appeal? Is it actually close enough to that college? Is it close enough to the schools close to it to make people want that? Is this maybe a short-term rental for those reasons or a midterm rental? Maybe.
Maybe. That's our final answer.
Yeah, but we just generated so many great questions.
Right. These are.
That are going to lead you down the rabbit hole. So the answer, Denise already knows, based on what we said, whether it's a yes or no for her or more information coming. But I think if you use that methodology, you're going to be able to very quickly in 5 minutes make your decision. Then you could spend, like we did, another 20 minutes deciding if I'm going to go forward or not. And by the way, I would not look at this in a vacuum like we did today.
No.
I would go evaluate different houses and compare this opportunity to other ones. Don't get stuck in the, do I do this one deal? Like we tend to, as humans, Crystal, evaluate one deal that's presented to us. Ooh, Big Mac. And
Right.
it's $2 off.
El Royale with cheese? Oh.
And the real question is, should I really be eating somewhere else? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great stuff. Thank you, Denise, for this question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wait. Did you say Denise again?
I did.
It is Denise.
Yeah, I said the right name.
There we go.
I got it. I like how Batman corrects me, Robin.
Oh, yes, definitely. You're welcome.
And I love this feature. If you guys have deals you want us to look at, specific properties that you want, bring those
Yes.
right to us. I'm Joe at Stacking Benjamins. Crystal, you are?
Yeah, Crystal H8725 at Gmail, or just go to stackingdeeds.net/voicemail. Show notes to the show. You can leave us a message from there and we get them. We love these.
Speaking of questions, time for a call to Ruth's Rotary phone. This is the actual spot of the show where we do answer questions. And we have a question from my favorite name of all time, Pam-a-lama-ding-dong.
So this one is, how do I stand out in the bidding wars? So back in early on in the pandemic, as you guys remember, there were bidding wars for properties. So how do you stand out? Because you don't want to get into a bidding war where you're overpaying for something. So a friend of mine, she decided, and it was a good idea from her realtor, she wrote a letter saying, listen, this is my situation, just appealing to the heartstrings of the seller. And it worked. So you never know what's going to work when you just coming from the heart and telling your story. You don't have to use ChatGPT like this listing clearly did, because now, as you can see, we can see through the fluff. Because, oh my gosh, what did they say? Adding timeless character. Don't overdo it. Don't over fluff it. But if you're writing a genuine letter from the heart, you never know what can happen. Because, sometimes it doesn't work. I'll remember back in my early realtor days, we sent roses with our low offer and it didn't work. I was like, darn it, we just wasted money on flowers. But had we written a letter, I think that may have made a difference instead of just sending flowers. Or maybe we should have sent food. We're not saying bribe the person, but a letter.
No, I do think going back to the Vicki Barron episode, I would have people listen to that because the human touch, Crystal, can be overstepped. You can overstep, but I think at the risk of overstepping, the human touch is not bad.
Not at all. Because we're in the people business. That's the secondary. That's the primary part of this. It's the people business. And if you can stand out and you can make a connection, even us, we know the connections that we make with certain people, they can make or break that transaction, that relationship, that business relationship too. So it's a people business.
Yeah, I think that whether it is the handwritten letter, the flowers, just the
Stand out.
Vicki was
Be great.
ballsy. Remember her knock on the door? She knocked on the door.
Sure did.
Like that's.
I want this house. I see myself in this house. You need to help me. That's what she told the
You
seller.
need to help
and he
me.
did it. He did it. He was totally on board.
So
you never know. Let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no before you even try. That's one of my favorite things to say.
But I think, Pam, you're asking the right question, which is how do I stand out?
Yep.
What is it that can make, if I really want this property, what is it that's going to make me stand out? The ways I wouldn't try to stand out, people stand out, Crystal, by overbidding. right? Spending more money. That makes you stand out. I'd rather sell it to you if you're giving me more money. Don't overpay for a property. And number 2 is don't forego the inspection.
Yes, yes, yes.
Never, ever, ever.
Do not waive the inspection. My realtor here in the DC area, she said people are regretting it now because they were getting these properties trying to be competitive and waive the inspection. And she said, I never recommend to waive the inspection. Like, that is one thing you have on your back pocket, and people were waiving, and later you're finding the stuff that an inspection would have caught. Do not forego the inspection.
If that's what it takes to win the property, let it go.
Let it go. And then this also goes back to our envelope math. If there's a property you're on the fence about, you don't want to waste inspection money on a property that's just a maybe. Make sure you're doing that math first before you even get to that step too.
Thanks for the note. If people got a note for us, Crystal, how do they call Ruth's Rotary?
Call us at stackingdeeds.net/voicemail. We will hear your lovely voice. Please record something for us, or you can type it if you don't want to talk. You can re-record, start over, whatever you like, and then we will get to your question just like we did for Denise here today.
And also, we referenced the show notes. We talked about both Suni and Alan. Suni's appearance just a couple of weeks ago. We also talked about Vicki Barron's appearance on here about negotiating. Those are all going to be in the show notes, and you can subscribe and have those come directly to your email. Say it ain't so, Crystal.
Yes, handwritten by moi. Yes, I'm French, parlez-vous French.
Well, your middle name is Louise.
Yes, that's right. So head to stackingdeeds.net/show notes, and you will get all this wrapped up in a beautiful bundle package for free $99 every week.
From Batman.
Exactly. The Batman. Because I went to the Ohio State University. We have to add the in there.
All right. I got to go throw up. I'm Joe Salsihai.
And I'm Crystal at Condo Crystal in the Twitter streets. Yeah.
We'll see everybody next time. Doug, wake up, man.
Yes.
Holy cow, is he quiet today? What should be on our to-do list?
So, what's our to-do list based on what we learned today? First, take a cue from our headline. Leverage is great as long as you have assets and cash flow to back it up. Remove one of those two factors and leverage quickly becomes your enemy. So use debt wisely. Second, property evaluation. There's a lot to look at, but by using some quick math, you can quickly rule out many properties from your list. After that, look at the neighborhood, other competing rents, how close it is to amenities, and more. You know what? Build yourself a spreadsheet and you're well on your way to a more professional approach. But the big lesson? Maybe hit the gym to work on your neck and traps before you buy your jewelry in bulk. Hey, Ruth, pull over. I'm going to need to take another sick day. Thanks to Diane for the inspiration for today's show. Have your own idea for an episode or a question for the show? Head to stackingdeeds.net/voicemail.